So, hello and welcome to the Freedom Frequencies YouTube channel. I'm the Frequency Phoenix, or Sharon Austin, the Frequency Phoenix, and today my lovely guests are Bea and David. Bea and David, also known as the Bards of Avalon. So, before we get chatting, I'm just going to read your bio out, if you don't mind. So, Bea and David are sound alchemists. And you've been working full-time with sound therapy since 2010 as the Bards of Avalon. So you've trained in a variety of complementary health modalities, but sound is your first love. Sound therapy is your first love. And your mission is to use sound to support others in realizing their potential, enhance their health and well-being, and have more joyful, fulfilling lives. And if two people can sum up joyful and fulfilling lives, it's you two. And we should have colourful in there somewhere as well.
Yeah.
And it talks here about your album, The Archangel Transmissions, which was critically acclaimed by both Kindred Spirit and Paradigm Shift magazines. And we're not ending there, because you're also contributing authors to 4 of the Bounce Back Journey books, which also became Amazon bestsellers. So there they are. Wow, amazing. Yeah, so I have lots of questions, all the things. Gosh, do you know, there's so much that we could talk about, and I was thinking about it beforehand, because like we met in around 2013, I think, in Avebury at a sound bath, our friends, Helen and Adrian.
Yeah.
But where I would like to start asking you guys questions is, so you met in Stonehenge in 2003.
Yep.
And I think, well, what happened before then? What got you to Stonehenge in 2003? And I know that Bea, your journey with toning started in 1990.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And David, your despite always having a curiosity and an interest in sound, your first experience with sound therapy was at a gong bath that you won. And this is typical of a David journey. When we start hearing about how things happen for David, he won a charity auction, a gong bath, and that began your journey into sound therapy as well. Right. So I'm interested into what came first. What got you, Bea? We'll start with how did you get to toning in 1990? What happened? What took you there?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I was working in the corporate world at that stage, but I'd managed to blag a course in humanistic psychology. I went to my managers and actually convinced them that it was a good thing for me to do. And so wonderful, they allowed me to have day release. And it was an absolutely brilliant course because it covered humanistic and transpersonal psychology. And one of the modules that we did was the use of sound and shamanism on people's personal development and spiritual development. And so this amazing woman, she's still around actually, Annie Spencer in Bath. She must be in her probably late 80s now. This is how long ago it was. She introduced us to the concept of toning, and I'd never done that before. And it was unbelievable because all she did was she got this group to tone the syllable om. That was all it was, just a couple of minutes toning om. And it had the most profound effect on me. I felt like I had a huge cannonball blast through my heart. I could actually feel breeze coming through my body. It was the most unusual experience I'd probably ever had. And for probably the 3 months afterwards, I was crying constantly. I just wouldn't stop crying. And, you know, I was working in a financial services company, trying to keep it together, being a senior manager and blah, blah. And I would be dashing off the toilet all the time, just crying my eyes out. And I thought, goodness me, something that only took a couple of minutes had such a profound effect. Years later, therapists said to me, well, you obviously had a profound heart opening. And I thought, yes, that makes a lot of sense. And basically all the barriers, all the pains, all the betrayals, all the alleged hurts and things like that, and the wall I'd built around myself and built around my heart had been blasted open by this sound. And that's what began my quest, because I thought, my goodness, if it can only take a few minutes to do that, I need to investigate this more. And yeah, that was the start of my journey.
Wow. Yeah, gosh, I have just got goosebumps all over me, and that I don't find myself saying that often, but more often recently. But yeah, I mean, so instant, you know, people spend years and years and years trying to bring those barriers down, don't they? So
I do.
Cannonball.
Yeah, it was.
yeah.
Well, thankfully the experiences haven't been so painful since.
Yeah.
But no, it was good. It was good. It was a deep release, deep cleansing, and it felt like I could finally let go. Doesn't mean to say I still haven't got work to do in that area, but the thing is that a lot of the initial work that I needed to do in that area certainly was blasted away by that.
Yeah.
Very powerful.
Amazing. So you was off on your sound journey from then, finding out more.
Yeah.
And training here, there, and everywhere. And you know, we laugh about it, like we can mention anybody in the world, kind of pretty much, and Bea and David have a story about them, you know, in the field of holisticness or alternative health, alternative news, or something. Like you can say somebody's name and you guys, oh yeah, I know them, or
Yeah.
like did some training with them, or we was on a cruise with them, or this thing happened. Yeah, it's fascinating. So David, I know it was, you did something at a charity event.
Yeah.
And that was it. Before then, it was just sort of
Yeah.
like, did you know what a gong bath was?
Never.
You won it?
No, never heard of it. Didn't know anything about it.
Tell me all about it.
I have to go back because everything links together. It's like a trail, and
Yeah.
so in 2001, my marriage was coming to an end, and I decided that it was best if I just left. And so I went to my father and said, can I stay with him? And he was quite shocked and everything, because he didn't know there was anything particular wrong, because it looked like from the outside, it looked like everything was normal, but it was falling apart. And so just before I'd left, out of like nowhere, this thing came through the letterbox to say, would you like a free trial of some these like mind, body, spirit type sort of recordings, which I had. I mean, I was completely in a different world. That meant nothing at all to me, and I thought, well, I'll give anything a go, because everything was literally falling apart around me. So the thing was by a guy called Wayne Dyer. Now, what it was the secret to manifest your destiny, which it turned out it was. Or it was part of it anyway. It was a stepping stone to the next part of my life. So I went to stay with him, and you know, I thought that, you know, basically my life in general would carry on as normal. I was a civil servant, and I'd been a civil servant for like over a decade and stuff, and I was quite happy doing what I was doing. But when I stayed with him, I knew that he had sight problems, and he'd had sight problems for quite a while, since 1986. He had a detached retina, and they couldn't fix it. They had 3 attempts, and they said that he'll never have any sight in that eye for the rest of his life. And so anyway, when I went to stay with him, I realized that he could hardly see, and his other eye was quite bad. He had cataracts and glaucoma and things, and he wouldn't have anything done, because the surgeons had said to him, if the operation went wrong on his good eye, he had a 30% chance of being totally blind, which means he'd see nothing at all then. And so he wouldn't take the chance, and so he said, well, I'll just carry on as I am and live with it. And I couldn't stand it. I you know, I thought, this is terrible. You know, I'm just watching him getting more and more blind. And so I thought, well, there must be something that somebody can do somewhere. So I went into alternative therapies and things. So I was trying to find a way to get his sight back, and I tried. I did Reiki and things, and NFH and NFSH healing and things, and I was trying out all these different things, working with crystals and all sorts, and that's what led me to this event. Because I knew the woman through working with other, people that were hopefully going to find ways of do healing for my father. And she was doing an event to raise money because she was going to go to Bosnia because the war in Bosnia was on, and she wanted to go and help the women and set up a refuge. So all the money was going to do that, and she was going to go and actually do it herself. And so that's how I won the gong bath. But before I won the gong bath at that event, which is now sort of 18 months after I moved out and everything, I met this woman called Polly, and I thought, well, she's quite nice, I'll ask her out. So I asked her out, and she said, sorry, I can't go out with you, I've met the perfect partner. And I went, what? And she said, I've met my perfect partner. And I went, okay, so how did you do that then? And she said, well, it's a set of steps. You go through this set of steps and you meet your perfect partner. And I went, I've never heard of that. And she said, oh yeah, it works. And I said, right, okay, can you send it to me? And she said, yeah, all right, I'll send it to you. And she put it in an envelope and everything, sent it to me. But that was half an hour before I won the sound bath. So it was like I set an intention that I wanted to meet my perfect partner, and then this sound bath came to me. So I got off to do the sound bath, and so it took, it was a good few months later, did the sound bath, and I said to the woman, this is really interesting, because I did feel stuff going on. It was quite intense. And I thought, right, okay, well, obviously things were meant to happen this way, because I really started, with this secret for your destiny and all these other things that had started happening. Everything seemed to be like a synchronicity. And so I thought, well, what else are you going to do? So she gave me a list of all these things that she was doing. And one event was not hers, was the one I picked. So I just went down the line and went, that one, because I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't got a clue what any of this stuff is anyway. So it turned out to be an event ran by this guy called Jade and Jewel. Well, Jade and Jewel was running the event that I then, the very next one was where you go to Stonehenge, and you then do 2 days in Winchester. Well, Stonehenge is in the middle of nowhere, and if you haven't got transport, you can't get there. And so I offered, and this is the only time I'd ever offered to give anybody a lift. And I said to the organizer, if anybody needs a lift, I'm available. If it's on the way, I'll do it. And so B said to the organizer, I can't get to Stonehenge. Can anybody give me a lift? And so there were 2 people came forward, and obviously it was me and this woman that Bea knew. So you say a little bit now.
Yeah, because and logically, it would have been much better for me to go with a person I knew, and rather than go for a complete stranger and a single woman, with who knows what, and but everything within my being said you have to go with David. And I thought, okay, well, I don't argue with my guides. I just say yes. And it was really, really weird, because as part of this process, you could have a personal reading with Jaden, and David decided to go for an in-depth reading with him. And so in terms of where he would actually pick me up, and I just got this guidance from Archangel Metatron of all people, to actually go and meet him in Basingstoke. And I said, what? It's
Not what you expect Metatron to be saying.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
Basic stuff.
And how does Metatron know the Southwest train service? You know, it's all like, okay, obviously.
And it was en route for me. It was directly in line from where I was starting from, where I had the reading, to where I was going, Stonehenge.
Yeah.
It was exactly in line. So I wasn't going out of my way at all. I was just going straight there to pick her up.
Yeah. But I didn't know that at that stage. I got the guidance before then, and so I said to him, "Well, I've got this guidance. We've got to meet in Basingstoke, hub of the universe, obviously." So there you go.
So I drove. I didn't know my way. I drove to Basingstoke, got there, completely lost, don't know where the station is or anything. I asked somebody, and he gave me this long list of instructions: traffic lights, roundabouts, all sorts. I'm not that good. I drove straight there. Literally straight there, and it's a bit like driving through any city. There's a lot of turn-offs and things. You could be going in any direction, and I literally drove straight there, pulled up in a car park, switched the engine off, the phone rings within 2 seconds, and it's Bea, and she said, the train's half hour early, it's just pulling in, where are you? I said, well, I just pulled up. So I just turned the car around,
guys,
and off we went. So that was my introduction to working properly with sound, because that's what we were going to be doing. The whole weekend was working with sound. Just as an aside to sort of finish the other story off, a few years later we met, we were guided by somebody else to go to a demonstration by a healer called Ray Brown, and Ray Brown was doing amazing healing on people, joints and all sorts of things, muscles, all sorts. And I went up to him afterwards and I said, can you reattach the retina of somebody's eye? And he said, well, yeah, but he said the glue's a bit thin, because it's literally spiritual type glue, And he's a very nice guy, and he was very sort of fun and everything, but he said, I can do it. And so I went and told my father, who thought I was completely bonkers, but if this guy touched his eye and it will reattach the retina. And it did take 5 attempts. He did say it'd take a little while. It took 5 attempts, but and literally he only touches his eye for about 2 minutes, and it reattached, and it never came off again. He could then see out of that eye the rest of his life. So absolutely astounding.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. So your sound journey it literally began with you together, didn't it? Because it wasn't like you didn't even meet at the event, because you went together. So, oh wow, amazing. And you've got the way that you two work together. Are you still there?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, can you hear us?
Okay. Glitched out there a minute. You're just in tune with each other, aren't you? Like that experience, what you just described there, of getting to the station 2 minutes of time, Bea's there already and phones you, and that kind of connection. You two have that, don't you? And you have that in your work and in your sound. Like I've witnessed it many times. But you will start off with something that's coming from somewhere else, and then David knows what to do.
I know. I know. We haven't rehearsed it.
We can't rehearse it.
No.
Because it's never going to be the same.
And if we try and rehearse it,
it doesn't.
It really, you know the difference.
Right.
It's because it's not really coming from us. It's coming from somewhere else, and because it's somewhere else, if we try to do anything without the right sort of like reasoning behind it, there is no energy behind it. Whereas if we're like connected to something, that something comes through into the space and people feel it, and so it's totally different to just playing an instrument or anything. It is, and the instruments actually they seem to have a life of their own as well. So if we work with an individual person, the instrument will actually sound different. Each instrument will never be exactly the same as you'd expect it to be, because it's working, it's actually doing something for that person. So it's astounding. I mean, I was a civil servant for over 20 years. This stuff's totally mind-blowing, you just sort of like, so
that describing that makes me think of how in resonance, and how we're both using a frequency device at the moment that has a quantum sensor in it, and that the way they describe the quantum sensor is it's picking up what that person needs in the time. Now that's like a Sharon explanation of science, but you've just described what's happening with your instruments working with a person, and it's individual to that person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just fascinating, isn't it? Because you do work on the land as well, don't you? Because the sound is obviously it's everywhere, isn't it? And it's going into the earth, and by healing the earth, we're healing everything that comes out of it, and the water, and so it's affecting everything.
Yeah.
What's the favorite bit about your sound work?
Oh gosh, it's a really good question. I think, well, for me, I mean, it's like we ran an event recently, and people were just absolutely stunned afterwards, because they were in such a state of peace and such a state of contentment. I think for me, it's knowing, I mean, we've had a few people now who've been to a number of our events over the years, and just seeing, you know, the way we see it is that we're all supporting each other back home, and sound is just our way to help you, you know, resonate with that. And it's just seeing people's journeys, and seeing people who have been in absolute dire straits, and it could be on a physical, emotional, mental, or a spiritual, what am I doing here kind of feeling. And it's just seeing the beaming smiles and at the end of a sound journey, or, you know, getting messages like, you know, I actually feel I can cope with my situation. It hasn't removed the challenge, but I actually feel I can deal with it. And you know, that's the thing. What we're trying to do with the sound is give people, it's a bit overused, this word empowering, but it gives you the tools to then help you navigate through life with greater ease and grace. And, you know, we believe that, you know, you don't get extra heaven points for suffering, you know. You know, and I don't wish to demean what anyone's going through, but there are easier and more graceful and more joyful. You can actually go through a few life lessons with a greater joy. It doesn't have to be as heavy. And we've both been through severe life challenges. Everybody has. But that's really for me. I don't know about you, if you anything comes to mind. Well, actually, with your dad, actually with tuning forks is a really good one. Actually, thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, besides eye issues and things, my father had a lot of physical issues as well. So at one stage we were doing an event in Glastonbury. It's not the Glastonbury event, but it was an opening an event in Glastonbury, and on
different pyramid stage.
Yeah.
Although we've got our own pyramids.
Yeah.
But that's another story.
I think we've even got to pyramids.
Yeah, I won't go there. So completely lost it now. Right, so we were opening this event, and things happen for a reason. And so on the day, I woke up and I couldn't speak. I had no voice. And we got out of bed, and she put her back out, and she was in agony. And,
right.
And we've never, you know, we're always fine when we're going to do anything, because, you know, we just are. And so we're like, oh my God, like, this is going to be an interesting one, because we're going to be singing and stuff. And there was various other issues as well. Like I'd made this video to go behind us, but because I didn't finish it until 11:30 the night before, Bea hadn't actually seen it, and yet she was going to stand in front of this screen with everything that she was supposed to be in synchronicity with behind her that she couldn't see, and she didn't know what it was because she hadn't seen it, and yet she was supposed to present this thing anyway. So so there's a lot of levels of like this is never going to work. This is going to be dreadful. And anyway, we got there. We set our stall up. We set our projector up for the main opening event and things like that. And this lady walks up to me and she said, "How are you doing?" And we knew her from various other events and everything. And I pointed at my throat and just went, "Can't talk," you know. So she just smiled and walked away. And she comes back with a tuning fork, and she said, "Do you mind if I fork you?" And normally I would just laugh at people when you would say like that, but I had no voice, so I couldn't. So I just like, you know, okay, carry on, do what you like, you know. So she's waving this thing in front of me, and then she said, "How's that?" And I said, "Great." And Bea's face was like, she said, "You got your voice back?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "It's worked." So she said, "Do my back." And,
could you do my back?
Could you do my back? And so she does her back, and the pain's gone. And so half hour later, we're on stage, and you wouldn't believe there was anything wrong with us, and everything was like perfectly normal.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it's a bit of a long story, but
yeah.
I said then later on, didn't buy it straight away, but I went and bought a tuning fork and took it home. When I got home with it, my father had been doing a lot of things he shouldn't have done, and he had massive pain in his neck, his shoulder, his lower back was crumbling, and we got an X-ray to prove that he was in a terrible state. Literally everything was dreadful. He had pains in the shins and stuff, and sciatic as well. He was on 8 coupe a day, and the doctor was you know saying, "We can't give you anything else. You know, that's the maximum you can have." So I started saying, "Well, this tuning fork's amazing. You know, I'll use this on you." So I used it for literally about 5-6 minutes every day, and within a week, his sciatic was gone. It was completely clear. His shoulder pain was like less than half. His back pain was definitely improving. He was getting cramps in his shins every night. That had stopped. It was gone. And so about just over a month, I think it was I can't remember exactly, but I think it was probably about 6 weeks. He was on 2 paracetamol a day. That's it. And so the shift in that was astounding. And so ever since then, we've been using tuning forks for people with pain issues and things, because I mean, you can't guarantee it's going to work on everybody, but you know, we don't charge anybody for it because it only takes 2 minutes, and you know, as far as we're concerned, if you're in pain, why are you in pain? Because this might actually mean you're not in pain anymore.
Yeah, we had one classic where we were doing a lot of work with Linkage Macmillan, and we had a lot of people in this audience. It was over 50 people, I would say, most of whom had never had any form of complementary health treatment at all. And we were invited just to give a quick demonstration of tuning fork therapy and then do a sound bath afterwards. And it was astounding. I mean, again, to cut a very long story short, but that just made us so happy because there were people there who were in severe chronic pain, some were, which was cancer related, others it was additional pain. But just to see people's faces, and there's one guy, and he came up to me and he was virtually in tears. He said, "Do you realise that this is the first time in 3 years I have not been in 24/7 pain?" And it's things like that that make us feel truly humble, you know, the potency of sound. And that's what it's, things like that that make us really happy. So it's a bit of a long-winded answer to your question. We could go off in lots of different, there's lots of stories, but yeah, I think that's what makes us, our hearts sing, literally.
Yeah.
Literally, it does as well. Hopefully you'll sing for us, you'll maybe tone us out later.
Yeah,
we'll see. But how do you describe that? Because I know there were people listening, like, how do you describe sound fixing a bad back or a pain, like in your dad's case there, David? Like, there were so many things
Yeah.
crumbling back and this, that and the other. So what does sound do? What's it done?
So if you imagine that every cell in your body is beaming out a specific frequency, and when you're in pain, when there are things wrong with different aspects of your body, it's literally your body is out of tune. And when we tune into a group or tune into an individual, we can actually hear the discordance. And we found this, and it doesn't sound very nice. It sounds really growly, but you can literally hear the stuck energy. And rather like, we keep talking about tuning forks, it's a lot more than tuning forks, but literally like the way a piano tuner strikes a tuning fork to actually get a piano in tune. This is why we call them tune up your life sessions, because literally what we're doing is it works on the process of entrainment. So we have like a 528 fork. Actually, I don't know if we've got one around, but anyway.
I'll go and get one.
Yeah, David can go and get one. But we will ding that sound, and it's literally like when the cells, particularly of a diseased part of your body, hear that, it's like a reminder. This is actually what you should be sounding like. So hello. And so it works on a process of entrainment. The whole thing works on, here we are, my assistant here.
Yeah.
But this is one particular, this is a good way to actually sort of illustrate it. It doesn't work so well online, but if I had another 528, and if you ding one and you actually get the other one, it would start vibrating exactly the same tune. And so that's what we're trying to do. So it's all based on frequency and actually helping you get the optimal frequency for whatever part of you. And I mean, there's lots of studies, you know, over the years, you know, with Royal Rife, Guy Manners, various other people that have been studying specific frequencies, and they'd be coming up with certain musical notes for different parts of your body, and then sort of beaming various sounds, you know, at those organs or at those broken bones, whatever it might be, to actually help it come into alignment. But the thing is that it's not just, you know, some people might think, oh, this is just the realm of woo-woo, but actually more and more in the NHS, you know, they're using sound to break down kidney stones, for example, to break down gallstones as well. It's an alternative. In dentistry, you get sonic cleaners. So it's purely sound that's using that. And obviously, you know, in pregnancy, you know, women often have an ultrasound now. So it's a scan using sound to check that the baby's okay. So, so more and more people are recognizing that there's actually a lot more to sound and frequency than people realize.
I think another thing that goes along with our work is the intention that's
very
behind
important,
it.
very important.
And I think when we're using say a tuning fork on somebody, there becomes a belief that it will work, whereas a lot of people are sure it won't. And it's quite interesting because over a period of time, because my father had dementia in the last few years of his life, he said he wanted me to use the tuning fork on him every night before he went to sleep. So I had to use it every day. And it's a bit like, you know, when you drive a car or anything like that, it is automatic. It's very simple anyway, but it's completely automatic that you're doing it. But I knew that it worked, because how did I get my voice back? You know, how did the pain disappear on me? But by the, you know, as time goes on and you've used it on like 30 people, 50 people, 300 people, and the effects that it has. I mean, like we've said, we can't guarantee anything, but we've had people, I mean, we've had extreme, literally very extreme results with it. And not even, not even being told why, anything. You know, it's just like, oh, can you do my neck? We did a sound bath with a group of people, and this was specifically an ex-nurse who was now in care. So she was working, actually caring for my father. And so I did her neck, didn't think anything of it. And a couple of days later, I went in to go and visit my father, and she literally ran at me and threw her arms around me. And I thought, what's going on? And she said, when I was 16, I was in a car crash, and I hadn't been able to move my head to the side, either side, since then. And she was probably in her 40s. And but she said, besides that, I've been in pain with it, and the doctors have all told me there's nothing they can do. I just keep taking the painkillers. So she'd been taking painkillers since the age of 16, and she had quite long hair, and so she started waving her head in front of me like she was at a rock concert. And I to a degree, you know, it doesn't really matter to me, because, you know, it's not my issue, and I've seen so many people be all right after it. But she worked with my father, so I saw her next week, the week after, the month after, the month after that. It never came back. She didn't have any pain in her neck, and her neck was completely fine. So, you know, I know it worked. I know it worked. But I didn't even know what was wrong with her. She didn't tell me. She just said,
right.
And I mean, but I have very clear intent that whatever's wrong with your neck is going to be healed. But, you know, I don't know. And so it's fascinating to see it happen. And even though she completely didn't believe that it wouldn't work, and it's like this like belief that it will, on top of the fact that I'm using the tool that will help do it, seem to override that, which I found really fascinating. And that's why we say to people regularly, whenever we do run any sort of session, is have an intent, have a positive intent of what you want, and because we've seen it, and obviously we always have a positive intent for everybody.
But then we also have to be very careful in what we're saying here, because the thing is that, and it depends on your definition of healing. And, you know, we've also learned, you know, from our experiences that actually a healing may not be a miracle cure. A healing may be just putting someone in a comfortable state so they can actually pass with more dignity and less pain. And that we have had the great blessing to be asked, I can feel now, to actually sing to people on their passing. And it's one of the most beautiful gifts that we've been invited to do. And, you know, it wasn't about providing that miracle cure, that they would come back, much as their loved ones would have loved that. And we said to them, we cannot guarantee anything, but what we will do is make them as peaceful as they possibly can. And we've done this on a couple of occasions now, and it's been so beautiful for everyone concerned, for the person involved and also their loved ones around their bedside. It's very, very moving work.
Gosh, yeah. Can I book you?
Well, let's hope it never comes to
You're
that. You're younger than us. So.
We'll be there from the other side if that's the case, either way.
Yeah, book us in.
That would be an absolute, what a gift to be able to be there and do that for somebody in the family.
Yeah, it is, yeah. But I thought it's important just to stress that, you know.
Yeah.
Well, like I said before, it doesn't work on everybody.
And
sometimes it people don't want to get better, some people, and so they'll get better but they get worse again, and you know, so you don't know. But I mean, we just want to try and help people, and if it works, it works.
We just simply ask that the sounds that come through us are for the highest and best and greatest good of the individuals concerned, and that this or something even better manifests for them, but it's in accordance with their divine purpose and blueprint. So by actually doing it in that way, we're not overriding anybody's free will or anything like that. So I think that again is important to state.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. We don't know, do we? But going back, I'm noticing the times.
Yeah, this
We
is
knew
it.
that.
Go on forever. I know. Sorry about this.
We knew that. Well, we knew just chatting for an hour would never be enough with you guys because you've got so many interesting things to talk about. So maybe we could talk again another time. Pyramids,
Okay.
or stone
Yeah,
circles. Oh gosh, I want to ask about stone circles because you met at Stonehenge and talking about resonance and sound, and there is a theory of the stone circles being sound and healing chambers, isn't there? Do you have any knowledge on that?
Well, our experience has been, we've been very lucky to travel to sacred sites throughout the world, and what's really interesting is the stones that actually comprise these sites, a lot of which have a very high quartz content. So whether it's granite or whether it's another type of stone, quartz is an amazing amplifier. When you're in the center of Stonehenge and you actually start singing, you can hear how that and other places like Avebury were designed as sound chambers. I mean, one of the classics, actually, David, if you want to talk about your experience in the pyramid, a great pyramid of Khufu in Giza, because this to us, you know, really brought home about sound in a sacred space. So
we were guided to go with a very, very, very small group.
So just 6 of us.
6 people. Did a tour to very special sites, and we had private access to a lot of the places, including the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx. So we actually stood between the paws of the Sphinx and things. And when we went in the Great Pyramid, we specifically booked this so that we would have these experiences. But there's 3 chambers. There's one underneath. There's one known as the Queen's Chamber, which is below the King's Chamber as well. We went in all 3 chambers and we sang in all 3. And they're all very acoustic. They all sound different, and but the sound, you know, it does really reverberate around the space. So the Queen's Chamber, as you could probably guess, is more aligned to the female voice, and the King's Chamber is more aligned to the male voice. We were doing, the person who was leading us suggested that we would lie in the sarcophagus and sing each other's names to whoever was lying in the sarcophagus. And we did that, and the sound was quite amazing to be going around the space, and the energy of the stone is very, very, you know, strong, and obviously it's been there for a very long time, and a lot of people used it for ceremony and things, and so it's an extraordinary space. But when we finished and the guide came in and said, "You've still got 20 minutes left, what do you want to do?" And so nobody was really thinking of anything, and I said, "Well, I want to lie in the sarcophagus, but I'm going to sing as well." So we didn't need to be singing each other's names anymore because we'd done all that. So we were singing names of angels and things, or the others were, and I thought, well, I'll join in, but quite sort of quietly and stuff to start with. And I realised that I could, because my voice is quite a lot deeper than most of the people that was there. Well, everybody that was there, mine was the deepest, and it seemed to hit the resonant note of the space, and then the whole thing started to vibrate, and it was like you were inside a rocket that was taking off. It
sounded like it was as a vom 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 vom,
yeah.
And it was like this really deep bass note, and it was like, OMG, we are going to take off any minute. It was like, oh dear, what will we do?
Yeah. So
A bit of an Indiana Jones moment, it sounds like.
We're waiting for something like that.
And so that was really amazing. So you really experience what it's like, because that chamber's got lots of like layers above the chamber, which supposedly they say is related to holding the roof up to make sure it doesn't collapse down. But it's almost like ways of making that sound reverberate in a special way. And the building of it itself is totally extraordinary. I don't think anybody could build it today. It's just completely amazing what they've managed to do, and obviously it's been there a very long time. Yeah.
But we found there was also, I was just trying to think of some other places. We went, I think Bryn Celly Do. It's on Anglesey. It's one of these beautiful Neolithic kind of chambers. And again, the sounds that come out of these chambers, they're quite, for us, quite clearly, they have been designed to make sound and amplify sound, so that whoever is, you know, in ancient times, whoever's doing the ceremony, whoever's doing the singing, it's amplified. And, you know, you can quite easily sort of put your mind into these times and just sort of think, my goodness, you know, if you've got like a priestess who's actually chanting, it will sound like the words of God, you know, or goddess or whatever coming through, because it just amplifies that sound. It's but I mean, pretty consistently, mind you, we're the sort of people that it doesn't matter, you know, we can go under a motorway underpass, and we can, you know, and sort of play with the tunnels, you know, along canals and things like that. We're the ones sort of singing, you know, and we're making sound everywhere. So, you know.
And going back to what you were saying about the healing properties of it, so in those times when they were using these chambers, they could have very well been healing chambers, and that's a school of thought, isn't it?
I feel so. Yeah, definitely.
And there's actually pyramids being made now, isn't there, over in some in Russia and some over that way, not quite Russia, but somewhere else. There's a pyramid village being made, and there are healing things. People are going there for healings.
Yes.
One pyramid being made as a library because of what's going on, what's happening when you go into these places. It's bringing you into resonance and harmony and balance. So if you're learning in that environment, everything's just flowing better. You're coherent. That's another word that we use.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh gosh, we could go off on so many tangents, but I also, David, you mentioned these 7 steps, and I know people are going to want to know about that. Do you still know those 7 steps?
The
7 steps that you did before you met Bea.
Perfect partner thing.
Perfect partner.
Yeah. There's a lot of stories to do with that, actually.
That might be another call, but I mean, people are going to want to know this stuff.
Memory wise, I don't remember how many steps it was. But,
oh, okay. I turned into 7.
It's even worse than that, because like I was talking about the very first sort of mind, body, spirit thing that I ever got sent, which was literally, you know, sent to me, was the Wayne Dyer Manifest Your Destiny. It's like by the time I got to the stage where I met that woman, the mad synchronicities that were going on around me, I just literally set the intent at that moment, as soon as she told me that there was this way of doing it, that I would manifest my perfect partner. And it's a really interesting concept for me, because before I met Bea, and going back a long time ago, I wasn't that worried about meeting anybody. So I used to just go out and enjoy going to nightclubs and stuff, and I would just enjoy myself. I just loved going out dancing and things. And so people would ask me, well, you know, who would you like to be with, and what sort of person would you like to be with? And I just like almost like flippantly said, well, you know, how about an aerobics instructor who's tall, slim, blonde, and really, you know, good mind and everything, really, you know, knew who she was and what she wanted, type of thing. Well, I didn't believe that that was going to happen, because obviously, you know, I just made it up. But I actually met somebody and married her. That's what she was. And so I was very clear that this time I was not picking who I wanted. I was going, I want the perfect partner, full stop.
Right.
And interestingly, Bea did the list.
Yeah, I did a list.
So she did the list of all the things that she wanted in her perfect partner.
Yeah, and people would say to me, you're crazy, you want too much. And I had a history of really dreadful relationships. And I thought, no, I'm going to go for it all. I want someone I'm attracted to physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. I want it all. And why not? And I'd rather be on my own if I don't get any of that. And so, and I'd been drawing up a list exactly, not in terms of physical looks and things like that, but in terms of actual qualities in a partnership. And I wanted a partnership. I didn't want, you know, some of the, we won't go there, but anyway, let's just say some interesting experiences on life's journey, let's say.
Yeah. And going back to what I did when I received the letter, I didn't open it. I never.
Which letter? Sorry.
The one that told me what to do.
Oh, okay, right. Oh, okay, right.
I filed it. I've still got it. I've still got
Right.
it. I opened it years later because people kept asking me, because I'd tell this, how did you meet Bea? And I'd tell this.
Right. Yeah. Well, I kind of.
I mean, I've been interviewed a few times about it and stuff, and a lot of these things don't actually dawn on you until later on, because it never dawned on me that I'd met the woman who, Polly, who then said, I did this process and met my perfect partner. It didn't dawn on me. It was the same evening, just before I won the gong bath.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it's like saying, well, I set an intention and the universe reacted and dealt with it within half an hour.
Within half an hour.
Yeah. So it was like, you know, tick that box. Like, you know, so it was already happening. It was already in process. I just had to set the intent that I wanted it.
Yeah.
So, but you know, you don't, none of this stuff dawns on you until later on, because, you know, it's only when people ask you a lot of questions and you sort of go, and because I keep a record of things, I've got it all written down. I mean, and the date stamps on the envelope and stuff like that and things, and I can go, oh yeah, that was what happened and stuff, like, you know, even you know, sort of saying, well, I got this guidance out of nowhere that I had to revamp the bedroom that I was staying in, ready for Bea, including build bookcases, and I didn't have any books. And I built the bookcases, and I was staying with my father, and he said, what are you doing? And I said, I've got to rejig this room, and I built extra wardrobe space for her clothes and stuff like that, and other things, and you know, literally I had to revamp the bathroom. Literally, we took it back to the brick. And
wow.
Why? And everything was being prepared, ready for Bea to come, but we didn't know. And you know, later on, it sort of dawns on you. You go, oh right. So I built all these extra wardrobe spaces and shelving and everything for all her stuff to just go straight into.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh.
But after I met the woman who met the perfect partner.
Yeah, the woman who met the perfect partner. Perfect partner story.
Yeah.
Amazing. What else was I going to mention? Joy. How you referred to learning through joy, Bea. I just thought that was so lovely, because I've been attached to learning from struggles and pain and suffering, and you know, that's programmed into us as well, isn't it? It's not, you know, I know I'm not the only one there. And I remember a friend saying to me, well, it was before I moved away, probably about 15 years ago now. And she said, Sharon, you don't have to learn through suffering, you can learn from joy. And it was like, Oh yeah. And there is another way. It doesn't mean life's going to be easy.
No.
As well, does it? You know, we still go through stuff, and there's been a few things highlighted just recently where people are having to, I've noticed people are having to defend, in a way, having a good life.
Yeah.
But the people that are defending having a good life are working and intending at a good life.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's your attitude that you bring forward, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it can be hard work, actually, being in joy.
Yeah.
Because you have got this, I mean, it was very strange, you know, particularly over the past 18 months, you know, and it's been a roller coaster for so many of us. But, you know, it's kind of like, I don't think I've known a time where we've really had to step up our practices so that to try and keep us vibing as high as we possibly can. And try and keep in that state of joy. I mean, I remember many years ago, how can I be of service? What's the best thing I can do each day? My guide said to me, find something that brings you joy, even if it's just for a few minutes each day. And that was at a time when we were caring for David's father, and we were like, oh God, it nearly killed us, really. It was so challenging at one point. And I thought, oh yeah, right, how am I going to find joy? But you can go out, you can see this amazing flower that's just popped up through a pavement, and you think, yeah, go weed, yeah, go.
Yeah.
It's sort of like it's doing its stuff, and it's so inspirational. Or you'll see a little bird tweeting past and think, oh, that's adorable, or whatever it might be. Whatever makes your heart sing. Could be a piece of music, could be walk in nature, could be actually having a nice soak, or whatever it is, or just simply, I mean, we talked about coherence earlier, but just finding things that you are in appreciation of or in gratitude to each day. Even if you just sort of say, well, I'm grateful for my body here. Okay, yes, I've got my challenges, but I'm grateful I am here right now. And giving thanks for that, because that's what keeps us, sort of topped up and joyful. But yeah, I understand what you're saying, Sharon, because the amount of times, people have tried to make me feel very guilty for enjoying myself and being playful. I mean, we seem to be getting worse as we get older, don't we? So but no, I think it's in response. But you honestly, why suffer? You don't actually need to suffer. Was it like?
And it's a duty as well, isn't it? When we know that, because going back again to the tuning fork,
yeah,
resonance. If you're suffering there, do you want me to suffer here as well? So everybody suffers. Or if I hold the joy here, maybe you'll catch it.
Yeah.
Lift everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. It's like when you hear a little child or a toddler laughing, and then suddenly everyone's laughing all around them, because there's a purity and an innocence about laughter, and it just ripples out, and everyone can't help but join in. That's another form of sound therapy, that right there, it's just entraining everybody around you, Yeah.
Oh, bring on the laughing babies. Well, right, we're going over the hour. Let's say it's happening, because I also want to know about how you provide your services. So before the situation we've all been put in since March 2020, you would be doing sound baths, and people would be coming to see you in person, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
And I know you've invested a lot of time in getting your sound, and however you do it, your equipment, to do these now online. And I've been to a couple of these, and they're amazing. And just to encourage people to come along to them, because you're so reasonably priced as well compared to other offerings that are out there. And as we can see, you're just so adorable, the pair of you as well. Like, why would you not go to Bea and David? But there's not just tuning. We've mentioned tuning forks, so we've mentioned your voices, but we've not mentioned, like, there's lots of things, isn't there? They're twinkly ones, which I really love, and we'll never remember the name of.
We start with
yeah. We got in true Blue Peter style. We have some ready.
So here's one.
again.
No, this is a temple gong. It's the smallest one that we use, and we use other gongs as well that are obviously much bigger. But to give an idea of the sound.
Wow. It's not vibrating through here. I heard a short, sharp sound. Not picking it up.
Yeah.
So if anybody's wearing headphones, they should be able to hear it, because it's a deeper sound. You can test it with I don't know how loud to do it, because obviously we can't hear what you can hear.
Yeah, I heard it then. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
So that's the sort of that's one sort of sound. Then there's things like rain.
That's so relaxing. I think you might need to move back a bit. It seems to work when you're a little bit further away, and then the sound just disappeared. There you go. Yeah, it's not picking it up the best. I'll just explain now. You have lots of microphones and things when you do sound healings. Something's happening. It's not coming across so well.
Yeah, it's better with headphones.
Yeah, whenever we do a session, we always encourage people to either have speakers or good speakers or headphones or earbuds, anything like that, because they.
Oh, I love these.
Because a lot of the sound doesn't pick up.
This is definitely picking up. So beautiful,
isn't it? I just take
it's making more sounds than, like, it looks just like there's one thing there, but you know, one dangly thing, but there's so many different sounds coming out of there. Because there's a lot indoors.
We've got steel pins inside.
They're not there.
Right.
Anyway, there's a crystal in there, and they're all tuned specifically to different sets of tones. There's a set of 4 bamboo ones, and they represent the elements: earth, air, fire, water. And the other one we just loved the sound of when we first heard it, and we bought it with the air chime, and that was all we were interested in. But as with all other synchronicities, we ended up doing a house sit somewhere, and somebody else came along to stay there. The owner had arranged it previously, and they had a van, and all the back of the van was full of chimes. The whole van was full of chimes, and so they said, you've got to listen to this and stuff, and we weren't interested in, and every day they were playing. So in the end, we had to buy some.
They're gorgeous,
we couldn't help it. But
we love them.
But it's like you're forced into what you've got to do next. It will just come at you until you do it, type of thing. So so we just sort of accept it now, because things just happen.
Go with the flow. So we will have links below.
Yes.
YouTube, I think we say they're down there or something like that. But I'll put your links into your website, which is where your events are advertised, isn't it? And also, if I put the link to your Facebook page.
Yes.
Yeah.
That'd be brilliant.
Anywhere else, you'll let me know, and I'll add in whatever you like down there. And something that's extra exciting for a community that we're in together, the Healy community, which is a frequency family, and you're going to do a sound bath with frequencies for us. I don't, how do you describe that? Because you've got frequencies and frequencies, so how do you word what you do there?
Well, I think we did a test run a few months ago, and we called it quantum frequency alchemy or something like that. So we'll have to come up with some other wording, but we'll be sending our newsletter out on the 1st of September in a couple of days' time. So we'll have details of the event there with that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
What was that, David?
We don't know yet.
We haven't got
You don't know yet.
precise title, but it would
Yeah.
be something
Not
like
the title
that.
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got an idea of the format, yeah, it should be quite amazing, really, because you've got you know, you've already got the power of the instruments, the sound, our voices and things like that, but with the Healy as well,
enhanced by the Healy.
it takes it to another level. And that was the reason we bought it in the first place, because we didn't actually believe that it would make any difference. And you came to visit us and said, "Oh, I'll just run coherence on you with." We had one each, didn't we? We had one each for 20 minutes, running this coherence program, and there's hundreds of programs, and it does amazing things. So we just had it working with us for 20 minutes. We were all having a conversation like we are now. And that evening we ran the sound bath, and everybody said, "What's happened? Your voice has changed, the instruments have changed, you're working at a higher level, the energies are astounding, what have you done?" So we had to go and buy one.
Yeah, that was amazing feedback, that, wasn't it? Because you noticed it in yourself, and then to get the feedback from the people that were attending, and you know, you're already at a high level, you know, everybody knows that, so who has experienced your work. So to be getting that kind of feedback as well. And in our group session that you're going to be doing, anybody who has a Healy, you're going to invite them to wear it and run the coherence program.
Yes.
Really amping up and amping up the coherence.
Yeah, I mean, it's only really in our conversation now that I realise actually what we're aiming to do with the sound work is bring people into greater coherence within themselves. That's really what we're about. So yeah, with the Healy, you know, you've got this super coherent thing going on. So
yeah. And give me a benefit then of coherence. What?
Well, you literally feel more together. I mean, I can, for example, I'll give you a precise example. I can feel like I can feel like I'm really frazzled, like really super stressed, because I've got a number of people calling, or a number of things calling on my attention, and I need to really come back into my center and actually feel more at peace and at calm within myself. And I can run that coherence, and I can do it either with the wires, or sometimes I'll just whack it on 100% and have it in the room I'm in. And either way, it's amazing. I will actually start to feel more centered. I will feel calmer. I won't be sort of state. It will actually then say, just chill. You know, the universe has got your back. Don't worry. And I think that's what coherence does for me. It just brings me back to my center. And just literally, I suppose, you know, I'm sort of, when I'm in those kind of states, I'm so scattered in terms of my energy. It literally, the coherence brings me back together, so that my head and my heart and my belly are all communicating with each other as one, rather than saying, "Oh my God," you know.
Yeah, the heart's like, "Listen to me."
Yeah, exactly. My head in particular going off on one. Yeah. Yeah. I love the coherence program. I think it's probably my favorite go-to.
Yeah. Same. David, how about you? How do you describe coherence, or being in coherence?
Well, it just feels like everything's going to flow. There's no issues. It's a bit like today, really. There's been a lot going on, and we've just come to talk to you, and we haven't really had any time to prepare anything or whatever. You know, we've literally been busy until about 2 minutes before your call, and it just feels like everything is fine. There's nothing to worry about. you know, we're going to have a lovely evening tonight. We just had a wonderful conversation with you, and everything's just lovely. And
Yeah.
that's how coherence is like for me. Yeah.
Nice one.
Love it. And the knock-on effect of that for us with other people, or from, like, we make better choices, don't we, when we're coherent. Like when we're frazzled, we might do something, you know, the analogy of you stub your toe in the morning and everything starts going wrong.
Yeah.
We're just making better choices. So it might even be a simple thing like, out of coherence, I'm not going to take that walk today, or I'm going to eat that something that's I know is going to give me tummy ache, or just really simple things, but just making life's choices better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's another good one
for me.
You're in coherence.
You're in coherence. This is the stillness and the silence. Actually, that's very important, just to sort of say that, you know, silence is also a really important feature of our work.
Yeah.
Which I know it sounds like a contradiction in terms, but I mean, it's like you find the greatest mystics who've done a lot of work on sound say that it's the chanting and the singing is designed to get you to that place of peace and stillness. That's why you do it. And it's that really lovely, comfortable sort of state, and you just go, oh.
Yeah, and you've not even toned, and I can feel I'm there. We're just from chatting. And Kit, you know, Kit's my husband, and he's a producer, music producer, digitally, and he always talks about it's the gaps in between that make the music. Like if there's too much there, he describes it as you have to let it breathe.
Yes, that's right, absolutely right.
That's right. And we when we did recorded the album that we did, the Archangel Transmissions, our guidance was that the person who was making it with us, who had all the equipment and everything, was going to play a harp on it, and as it went through and more, you know, was done, because we had no clue what we were going to do. There wasn't any plan or anything like that, and it was obvious that there were no instruments. There were meant to be no instruments at all, and so we had to then discuss that with her, because she thought she was going to be on it and stuff, and everything. We then worked out how to move forward, but because it was only supposed to be the voice, and there has to be, you know, nothing else, because the instruments would have taken away from the pure energy of the sound that was coming through.
You're going to treat us to a bit of sound.
Yeah, what you want.
As we sign off, I'm thinking, because I know what I'm like after I've heard your voices, and I want that stillness.
Yeah.
So we say thank you.
Yeah, okay.
And it's been really good fun. I've loved having you here. And there's so many other things that I want to talk about. Archangel, pyramids, synchronicities. There's like so many subjects that we can go up on in another time if you'd like to.
Oh, we love
yeah.
Oh, great. Good.
Is we could share a blessing. It's a Sanskrit blessing that we finish every sound event with, and it basically means, may all beings be free, may all beings be happy, and may my thoughts and my words and my actions contribute to everyone's happiness. So it's a really beautiful blessing, so we can sing that.
Yes, please. Thank you. I'm going to put myself on mute. I'll just let you take the rest of the recording away, and then when we're finished, I'll just close down without any more of my voice.
Well, thank you, Sharon. Thank you very much for inviting us today. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti
Shanti, Shanti.